We're making waves and keeping it real. It's Real Talk Rhody with Bekah Berger.
And we have another episode of Real Talk Rhody. And this week, we are going back to the Bravo Rhode Island OGs. You might remember a show called Game of Crowns. That's been making its way back into the conversation with all of this Real Housewives of Rhode Island news. So to get some tea and to talk crowns and so much more, we welcome back to 92 Pro FM and also Real Talk Rhody, my first in-studio guests, Susanna Paliotta and Lorianne Marchese. Welcome to Real Talk Rhody.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so happy to have you here. This is a reunion of sorts.
Yes.
Because we did the whole media blitz back when Game of Crowns was premiering. That was the summer of 2014, correct?
2014. Yes. Isn't that crazy?
It's been 11 years since Game of Crowns.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. First of all, it's what have you been up to? And Susanna, we'll start with you since it aired and all of that.
Oh my goodness. Well, after the show aired, I did some traveling, and then I really became a PR agent and went out to California with my daughter Isabella, and she's just been killing it. So shout out to her. And then really just focusing on family and, getting into travel here and there. But really, more or less, I've been a PR agent. I've worked with oh my God, I did the Teen Choice Awards, and then when they retired, I did the BET Awards just recently, Golden Globes. I do all the gifting for that.
So you turned into a momager.
I did.
Essentially.
I did. Well, for a while, and then Bella fired me, and then I had all these great contacts, and then I decided to become a PR agent.
Did she rehire you ever?
I got fired to be a mom, which is really cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a downgrade.
No, it wasn't a downgrade. Well, you know what it is what she had reached a level that like a momager can only take you as far as our knowledge goes.
Sure, of course.
She was on the Sean Kelly podcast, and she was flying all over the place and driving all these fast cars. And I'm like, that's way out of my league. So we got her the right management team. So
you just said you got into trouble. What do you mean?
Well, I still have a mouth, What opinions.
What did Andy Cohen once say?
Wait, do not with people from Rhode Island.
They don't bleep with people from Rhode Island.
That's right.
Was he talking about you, Susanna?
You never know. But he did get a good taste of Rhode Island from us, from the OGs. So,
and I'm going to get back to that in a second. Lorianne, what have you been up to since we left you on Game of Crowns?
Well, I didn't have a baby then. I know it was talked about at that time, but I ended up having a baby, but she's not a baby anymore. So Ariana is now 8 years old.
Oh.
So I do have one daughter. And then, I've been just still doing 17 years later, still doing fitness and like nutrition and wellness and helping women. I also landed a few covers of some fitness magazines. And then media wise, I think it's been almost like 3 years now. I'm on WFSB News, and I have my own fitness segment and cooking show there. So I've been doing that. So it's been great, just doing my thing and still focusing in like little medias here and there. It's fun.
Now, do either of you still, or did you participate in the adult pageant circuit after Susanna?
I didn't. No, that was, well, actually, I actually did compete at the United States one. And then after that, because we thought we had a season 2. And so I did end up doing that, but that was it.
That was the end of your reign.
That was it.
You have hung up the crown, hung up the sash.
That's it. Well, I'll always be Miss United States 2014. Like I never, you know what I mean?
It's like the president.
Once
you're always a president.
Yeah. You'll always be that. So.
Lorianne?
And for me, I haven't done any pageants at all. I think my last one was maybe after the Game of Crowns show ended. I was like, you know what? Let me just go back to fitness, because there's a little bit of like friction going on between fitness and like the whole pageant world on Bravo on that show. So I was like, you know what? I'm going back into fitness one more time. So I competed in the world championship and I got top 3 in the world. And then I hung it all up. So
congratulations.
Fitness,
that's
helping people.
That's amazing. You both have been so busy since we last saw you on Game of Crowns. Now, Susanna, you mentioned we never got to see a season 2. We never got to see any spin-offs, but you had posted, I think it was last week on Instagram, that there was a plan in place for Game of Crowns. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
So there was actually, this is when I think when Andy says don't mess with Rhode Island, there was so much drama when Bravo filmed here originally. And I don't think a lot of people know about it. We didn't even have a reunion, after we had
Right.
done the season. And then normally we have a reunion, but there was restraining orders happening. There was, oh my God, there was so much drama.
There's threats too.
There was guns. There was
There's
like
a lot.
so much crazy stuff.
Hospitalizations.
Yeah, it was
It was a
really
lot.
crazy. So I think what happened is that they were like, well, let's just take a step
Yeah.
back.
See, I always assumed there wasn't a reunion because I thought that the reunions at that point, because this is 2014, it's a different Bravo time. I
Mhm.
thought that those were just specifically for Real Housewives because, back then that was before Summer House. I can't remember if Married to Medicine, because again, Game of Crowns also offshoot like some of these other shows were. So that's why I thought there was no reunion, but it turns out
No, there was a lot going on behind the scenes that a lot of people didn't know. And so the company that had us, Shed Media,
Yeah.
we actually went out and visited with them, and they were just hanging on as well as we
Yeah.
were, just waiting for something. And then finally, Bravo was like, they were literally tied up in lawsuits.
And it's giving the why we didn't have a Jersey reunion this last go around, just because and what they ended up doing was just sort of checking the box. Let's have them watch the show, but not have a full on reunion. Now, you mentioned something, or this was on Instagram, Susanna, you mentioned something about a spinoff in place.
Oh, there was never.
No.
I don't know where that came from. I did read that.
Okay.
But there was none of the cast members were ever getting a spinoff. And I think, and I'm going to be the first person to tell you, a lot of that show was made up. The pageants.
You don't say.
Yeah.
What?
But I get it. The
Yeah.
pageants were made up. And
Yeah.
I think this was another reason why it was so lackluster because everything about that show, like, right now when you step into Jersey, like all that stuff is really happening. And because this was supposed to be a pageant show, they really were making up fake pageants. We were going to Foxwoods. They were saying that somebody owned Foxwoods.
Vanessa's family.
No.
What? Wasn't it Vanessa?
Yeah.
That was the name, right?
Her husband was the entertainment director there. They don't own Foxwoods. And so a lot of that started to make, Rhode Island, we all knew this, but now you're talking about Chicago and then all these people we start to know, and they're like, there's way holes in the story and
There's a disconnect.
Yeah.
So when you were filming it, did you feel that way? Did you feel a little bit inauthentic, Lorianne?
Well, I felt like a lot of the scenes were made up. So like say if me and her were filming, right? So if they didn't like what they got to hear or got to take from it, they would come in and not leave the scene until they got what they wanted. So they start feeding us lines and say, you need to do this or else we're not leaving. And we're like, but why? I don't have a problem with Susanna right now. Why I gotta make a problem with her?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So then they would feed us these lines. Now all of a sudden, you start getting heated. Now I have a problem with her, but I didn't come to the scene with a problem. So that was the issue. And then some of the cast members, if you want to say the name, didn't know how to check off themselves. Like when you're in the scene and then when you're off and you go home, you have to be able to turn it off. And some of them did not know how to turn it off. Their fake reality started becoming reality at home. And I feel like that's what broke the show a lot. They didn't know how to cut it off.
I'm friends with a lot of housewives, even of New Jersey. And I will tell you that, I think people don't understand that this is a business. Okay. So it's not, so the Shed Media, or right now the creative, the new person that's doing the show, they're on set and they're showing things back to Bravo. All right. And Bravo's okaying them as they're going. So Andy and his team are seeing things. They'll go out in the field. We call it the field. They'll go out in the field and they'll film today. And then they'll send bits back and they'll say, this is what happened. And then really creative development at Bravo decides what storylines we're going to follow.
Yeah.
Right? But when there's no storyline with us, with Game of Crowns, it was so dry that I think everyone was reaching for
grasping
straws.
at straws in a way. That must have been really tough. what people laugh when I say, oh, that must be tough to film a reality show and like people are struggling. But what I meant by that is, Lorianne, you said something interesting about how people couldn't turn it off. What I think of, and I wonder if the current cast of Real Housewives of Rhode Island is going through this. You have a day of filming, and then you get home and you look at your partner or you look at your mom and you say, what just happened today? Like, did you almost feel like you were blacking out when you were filming?
So we'll sometimes film 12, 14 hours a day. Okay. And they come into your home. So I think what people aren't realizing, especially for the Rhode Island cast, is so they'll come in and like say they'll set up and production will set up in our kitchen. So they've got all their monitors there. And so let's say we're having a cookout. So they're following the family throughout, right? But they have like a whole like mini production station happening in the house. Now, after 10 hours, you're exhausted. The kids are not well behaved anymore at this point.
Yeah,
you know, on one of the shows, you can see Bella eating sugar and just like she loses her.
Love watching that back.
I actually do, because it's like final. And let me give props to Bravo where it's due. Like they did follow storylines, and like we were able to showcase anti-bullying. We were able, like they did show the good with the bad. I've seen that with Bravo. Like they do stay true to form. However, they are up in your grill. There, you've got cameras in your car. They've got cameras. You know, the mic is on you. It's near you. There's not just mics on you and near you. They're everywhere.
They're like in corners.
Yeah. And you know, they know that you're going to get triggered at some point throughout the day.
Sure.
Think about when you woke up this morning till the time you go to bed tonight. You're going to say or do something that's I wouldn't want anyone else to
that
hear.
I would get canceled over.
Right.
I think about this all the time. And you mentioned the kids. I have a 3 and a 6-year-old. And I just can't first of all, like having to keep my house clean. And that actually, I want to get into that. But having to keep the house clean, my parenting, like all of those things, I can't imagine being filmed all the time. And like you said, you can't escape it in a way because you have cameras. Like Lorianne, you said it's hidden. Okay.
And your mic is also on, like she said, for like 10 to 12 hours. And sometimes you forget that it's on. So you could think that you're going in the living room where there's no cameras and you're talking to your mom and you're going, I'm so tired. I don't want to do this. Or, that.
And you also signed a contract that says that you have to leave that mic on at all times.
So they're still filming you, even though you're not in scene. So they could still pick up a line that you're saying somewhere in secret. And they'll say, ooh, that was some juicy gossip that she's doing upstairs right now. So they start pulling. They'll do a camera from downstairs that you're upstairs. And meanwhile, they're hearing your whole conversation.
Yeah.
So you cannot forget that mic is on. It is so important.
We're talking to Susanna Paliotta and Lorianne Marchese, Game of Crowns. It was on in 2014. We're having a little bit of a rehash, a little reunion in light of the Real Housewives of Rhode Island news. So the two of you are still in touch.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's great about Lorianne and I is like, we done talk for some time. I was out in California, she said. And then when you have a friendship like this, you can just pick it back up wherever. So, I reached out to her for fitness. I'm working with the Cardones right now, and we're doing a big convention. And so Lorianne's going to be a part of that. And then
Who are the Cardones?
Help me. Grant and Elena Cardone.
Are they local?
No.
Okay. No, this is a global brand.
Yep.
Yeah, got it.
Yes. So, but it's a women's convention. And so I had reached out to Lorianne and, it just kicks back up again. And I think that's the part of the genuine. And I love Lynn. I mean, really, there's only one person from the show that I really just, because the fakeness just was consistent,
So you don't talk to Vanessa?
No.
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 I'm trying to think of who else. There was Leah.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk to Leah?
No, but just because she really kind of hit herself once the show was over. Like, I don't even think that was ever something for her. She was the current reigning Miss Rhode Island at the time, and I think that was why she was on.
Yeah, we both won at the same time for Connecticut and Rhode Island.
Yeah.
We both got casted the same time. We both won the same year. It was like 2013. But like she said, as soon as it was over, she just like disappeared, gone. I don't even see her on social media.
Yeah,
like,
I was looking up some of them, and it's amazing who still kind of, kept it going a little bit.
Yeah.
And then who said, oh, that wasn't for me.
It was more like just me and her that were the only ones that stayed in the media.
And stayed socially active on social media.
Well, I love Rhode Island. I'm
Mhm.
super proud of our state. I really hope that the Bravo, films Awful Awfuls and Dells, but I have a feeling this cast isn't like, that type of cast. But like, I really wish they would show some of the iconic places that we have here. We filmed in Newport. We filmed at Alpine. We filmed at Twin Oaks many times. Shout out to Twin Oaks.
Of course.
So I think when you guys started to cover this, like, I was like, oh God. And you're like, I wonder where they're going to film. I like, well, I know where they did film. We filmed at the other country club, Kirkbrae.
Yep.
We filmed there. Yeah. So
It's interesting though, because they're not allowing them, the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, allegedly. One thing about my podcast, I use the word allegedly every other word
Smart.
because,
girl.
again, it's my face, it's my brand. I'm not trying to get sued.
Mhm.
But allegedly, Alpine said no,
Mhm.
and Kirkbrae said no. So I'm wondering what has changed.
Or maybe
since-
they got a taste of Bravo
from you guys.
because we filmed at both of those places.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Bravo
think so,
doesn't
too.
pay for locations, and so I think that probably might be a discourage. So if you have a wedding, too bad. And Bravo has a tendency to like, there's no like, oh, we're going to be there for 4 hours. I mean, we're coming in, we're camping, and we're going to be there for a long period of time.
When you say they don't pay for locations, they're never going to have an exchange of
Money.
But what they'll offer is
The exposure.
Exactly.
Right. But like, do you remember the name of the restaurant where Teresa flipped the table?
Right? Was it Rails or no? It was the Brownstone.
Yes.
But with Rails, so that's what I keep thinking. I think more about Rails. I mean, yes, that was a big deal for
yes.
Teresa, and we still talk about it 16 years
Yeah.
later, right? Non-housewives people always go back to Teresa and the
Yes.
table flip. So shout out to Teresa for having one of the most iconic, if not the most iconic moment. But for me, I think of Rails because that's where all of it always went down. It was always the Last Supper.
Yes.
So I'm wondering what Rhode Island's Rails is going to be, and
Either
maybe
going to be Cirque.
Cersei Prime.
Yeah, Prime, which I have a bird's eye view of.
Well, I actually saw the Rhode Island
or-
Housewives there 2 weeks ago when I was
or
shot with
Twin
you.
Oaks.
Yes.
Or Twin
Mhm.
Oaks, because I had a little birdie told me that they've been there. They've done they're coming back.
They are going to film because
Yeah.
I've heard that they were like, maybe not this time around, but maybe so.
They definitely
Could be the Rails.
De-
Could be the next Rails.
I think it should be because Twin Oaks is iconic.
It
so.
is one of the most iconic Rhode Island locations. So have you been in touch, either of you, with any of the alleged cast of Real Housewives of Rhode Island?
Actually, I went through the pre-casting.
Okay, you did.
I got the call
Mhm.
back in, let me check my receipts.
You want to do the receipts?
Yes, let me-
Timeline, screenshots.
let me check my receipts. But yeah, I did get the call, and
So this was June of 2024, about. they-
June 8th. June 8th. Hi Susanna, hope you are well. We know you did Game of Crowns. This is
So-and-so from
Mhm.
from casting.
from development. Yep. And we're looking for Italians in Rhode Island. Italians.
Yeah, because they
Okay.
never said Real Housewives. Like, it wasn't called Real Housewives. And I get why they just have to put it out there as a casting call.
But they did really want that authentic Italian feel, because on my first go around with them, they asked me a lot about my Italian roots.
Mhm.
They asked me a lot about like big dinners, big family. Like, they were specifically looking for that Rhode Island Italian, I feel like, feeling.
Almost, and would you say because of the Jersey kind of fallout? So are you thinking that this is a Jersey type replacement?
So when they canceled New York and then they put Jersey on full-time hiatus,
Pause.
they are putting, they're banking on Rhode Island. And I think Andy has gotten a taste of what we can offer from when we were here before. But I also think they have a very idealistic thing in mind of what they're trying to accomplish here. And I think the cast that they have may give it to them.
What happened in your case with the casting?
So they I was a little old. They wanted to stay, he
But they reached out to you. They know kind of what range you're
I
at.
don't look my age,
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, truly.
So what happened was we talked several times. I don't really have a direct connection with some of the girls on the show. That was one of the things. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to maybe appear at something.
Okay. So what you're saying is you could make a little cameo?
Well, one of my very good friends made a career out of making a cameo on Housewives of New Jersey.
Yes.
In fact, she was so popular that the posh, like, fashion shows were like the pinnacle of each season.
Yes.
You know, she might have some really good insight
I know.
into giving some, I don't know, possible tips.
And I want to talk to Kim D in a little bit. But again, I don't think you were too old for the Real Housewives. So are you saying it just didn't work out?
So the way we left it was I don't really have a personal connection with a lot of the girls. And that was like, because you also, I'm pretty nice. I know that I may come across as like,
as you said, I got in trouble a couple times.
But I'm not like, you're not reading me in the press, like, getting down and dirty. So maybe I wasn't, the door wasn't shut, put it that way.
And like you said, you could be making some cameos.
Yeah.
Can I ask your opinion, both of you, about somebody from Jersey, Dolores Catania, who I'm a huge fan of? She's a fan favorite, was on The Traitors, so she's got the crossover appeal. Can I ask you your opinion about Rhode Island allegedly bringing Dolores here, or Bravo production company bringing Dolores here to sort of be whatever role or whatever capacity she's in? What do you think about that?
I love Dolores. She has some ties here, and I think she's going to be great on the show.
And what about you, Lorianne?
I think so too. I think she's going to be a good asset. I think she also has the experience. So I think she could also help these girls a little bit because they're kind of new. So I think having her, she's going to be most like a mentor, like a big sister to them. I think these girls need her. For sure.
Yeah. I think one of the problems with production was they really were trying to they found some great girls, but they were trying to tie it all in.
I am so with you. Can I say this?
Yes.
Everyone I have talked to, there's always this word that comes up, and it was someone to balance the cast. And I don't know why I can't get off of that. It's just that's what keeps coming back to, at least in my DMs.
Yes.
I've talked about this on Real Talk Rhody. Someone reached out to me November-ish, and he said they've been wanting our family. They want someone to bring almost like a wholesome family element. We're not doing it. So he was eliminated, or they eliminated themselves. Alexa and Matt Frazier did a couple podcasts, and they talked about sort of that's what production was telling them. We need someone. And my God, they went all the way to the top and had executives reach out. We need someone to balance the cast.
Yes.
So just to get your opinion on that, what do you make of all of that?
I agree. I mean, that was one of the things when I was talking to them was they are really looking. They have the fighters. They need that kind of
calming energy.
Yeah, they need that person. They have a lot of Teresas. They have a lot of Kim D's.
See, now you're talking my language.
Okay.
All right. Yes, I understand this.
All right. They have a lot of all that. They even have some Melissas and stuff, but they do not have like a Carolyn Manzo.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Someone who's a
Heather Gay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Little bit.
So
I like this game.
Yeah.
Because I get it.
I think that's the thing.
That's the thing, right? Because you made a great point about to do these shows. You would both agree you need to have a strong personality. You can't be meek. You can't be shy.
No.
You can be aggressive, but you also need someone to almost be that relatable, like, oh, okay, I can relate to her because she's sort of Switzerland. Similar to how Dolores does, and I don't want to use the word play, but that's sort of how Dolores comes across a lot on Jersey. She does see both sides. Yeah. At the Rails finale taping, whatever you want to call that, she went in both rooms.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of what you're saying with Dolores. Maybe not because they need a full-time cast member to be a balance, but Dolores can almost offer advice and sort of a view from a different place.
Yes. Well,
I definitely agree with that.
I know what they're doing this week, and I think it's going to be really interesting.
Care to give us any type of hints?
Well,
or
that I can't. I will say it's a vacation spot that they'll be filming at.
So this is the vacation week. And now when you say
I'm going to get sued.
Now
but it they are doing something vacationist.
But is the vacation a staycation or is it a destination-cation?
It's a one and done. It's a go, have fun, and leave.
Like similar to like our Newport.
Like a Block Island?
Why would you say Block Island? What would bring you to that?
Because it has to do with a one and done. It's a destination.
We'll see.
Blink twice.
We'll see. But I will tell you that hypothetically, I think maybe somebody from New Jersey will be there. Okay,
I like it. And so you still are very much on the inside of this whole thing, is what it sounds like.
I am. I know a lot, and I know, while I don't know a lot about the cast members, I work more. I know a lot about production, and I have a lot of friends in this entertainment industry. I really think we should call Kim and get. Okay. Want to do that?
Yes, let's call Kim D.
Let's do it.
Because
she's
Real
the
Talk
matriarch. if you want to talk about a matriarch of who knows what.
Yeah. Let's get Kim D. Let's FaceTime Kim D. Let's do it. Real Talk Rhody exclusive.
Hi, Susanna.
Hello, Miss
Hi, Kim. It's Bekah Berger. How are you?
How are you?
Anyways, I've been talking a lot about you because, girl, you are the matriarch. In fact, I think you held the first 3 seasons of, Bravo Jersey together with your posh fashion show. But
thank you, my love.
You're welcome. But I have a question, and then I don't know if Bekah has any questions. But my question is, what do you think of the new cast?
The alleged cast.
And what advice do you have for them?
Okay, let's start with, I went all over all their Instagrams already.
Okay.
I think they're all beautiful. I really love everything I'm hearing about them. Here's the thing I want to tell them, and we can get into a couple questions. We were bashed, our looks, called horrible names, but then we were also loved. So you can't let this get to you. You're going to have people who adore you, and you're going to have people who are going to pick you apart from head to toe.
Yep, it's true.
What they think about you is not your problem, okay? Don't let it get to you, because I hear already that certain people are getting upset. These girls, they got to stop getting upset. Because this is just the beginning.
Yep.
Keep your head held high. Be yourself. Don't lie, because if you lie and you lie about who you are, okay, what's going to happen is the audience is going to see right through you.
Yep.
So
be authentic.
That is very true.
Have fun. Stop worrying so much about your looks. You're all beautiful.
Yep.
And, because I'm telling you, I would have jumped off a bridge a long time ago.
The Tappan Z.
Listen, I would have been long gone, honey.
Kim, so what you're saying is don't get lost in the comment section. Don't sweat the small stuff.
1,000%. And you want to know something? It's not even don't sweat this. You people that do this are evil to the core. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, and most of the time, you won't even see a face behind it. Most of the time, it's bots. And they're dying to hurt you. Mm-hmm. And, listen, these girls are new at this. They're not used to this. A lot of these women are very independent besides having a husband, that does well. And, who got their lips done? Who got Botox? So what? Look at the Kardashians. Look at the way they started. Look at them now.
That's right.
What goes around the internet is like, you're not ugly, you're just poor. And that's sad. That's really sad. I mean, look what's going on in the world. So don't let anyone get to you. You could read the comments. It should make you stronger.
And you're pretty much friends now with everybody. I mean, that you're from the show?
Everyone. I talked to Teresa for hours at a time. Dolores, Kathy, even Margaret, Jen Fessler, Jackie Goldsnyder. I mean,
I love
you name it. I told the only person that we're not really crazy about each other is me and Melissa Gorga. That's it. But otherwise, very friendly with all of them. Very, very friendly. And a lot of them call me to get advice. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard about my book, My Life with the Big Boys, but you read my story and you'll understand why I can give advice.
Kim D, well, I have you. So you were talking about Melissa Gorga on your podcast, and is it true? Did she really call Bravo and say she wanted the Dolores Catania treatment and come to Rhode Island? What's the deal there?
Yes. She called one of the producers, whoever it was, and said, wouldn't you want somebody that looks more like them and is more closer to their age? Meaning her.
What did they say? Do you know what production said back? Like, we've already got Dolores. Thank you for coming, and here's some sprinkle cookies, or what?
Yeah. Listen, Dolores, no one ever came out 100% and said Dolores is on the show. Dolores has not said it. No. And remember, there's all kinds of NDAs. But clearly, some of these producers behind the scenes, they all like to talk. Susanna knows that better than anyone, both of us.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, they love to talk it out. So clearly, these girls got word, and that was her first instinct, was to call them and like, what about me?
Imagine.
Yeah, and I don't know. I look forward to Kim. I'll just add one more question for you. What do you think about the future of Jersey? Where are we going with Jersey Housewives?
I feel that it's coming back, not yet. And the reason why not yet, there's a big reason. I believe Andy Cohen has really a lot of anger, and he's disgusted with the cast, with what they did, telling him who they're going to film with, telling him what they're going to do. Andy Cohen and Bravo was their boss. You don't sign a contract for $1,700,000, $800,000, and tell your boss what you're going to do. If you didn't want to film, they came to your house, the head producers, and dragged your ass there.
Yep.
Okay? They didn't do that. Sirens Productions dropped the ball. He's ticked off. He's going to let them suffer. I do believe Jersey's pretty big on the totem pole. Like, I believe they do well. They will bring them back. It's just a matter of time. When he feels like he's ready, when Sirens Production gets their game on, they get the right girls, and I think it'll be a combo. That's my opinion, but I do believe that, listen, they lost a lot of money. There was no reunion. That's where Bravo makes most of their money. Remember, there's a 3-part reunion. There's all kinds of commercials. They lost the reunion because of these girls.
Yeah.
Who did they think they were?
Yeah, it's like, what happened to
It's
us?
a lot of ad money. Yes. Okay. Well, Kim D, I can't thank you enough for calling Susanna during our Real Talk Rhody episode. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what you have to say next. And I will look into your book.
You got it. And also podcast.
Yes.
My podcast,
Push
Get
it.
Real with Kim D.
I love it. I'll call you later,
All
Kim.
right, bye, Susanna. You know I love you. We're family.
Love you. Bye.
Thanks, Kim. That was fantastic. I loved hearing from Kim D.
Well, see, that's the thing is, like, I'm so
Connected.
Yes, we all are, because we were all on the show called Bravo.
Yes, you were on the network. Game of Crowns really was what attracted Bravo to Rhode Island, back to Rhode Island. You would agree with that, right?
Absolutely. And let's not forget, there are, like Kim said, Rhode Island is amazing.
Yeah.
And I am a diehard Rhode Islander, where, I've been here since, the beginning. So, like, before Water Fires was even built, like, I want Rhode Island to be shown in what it deserves. And I think a lot of people are very scared that Bravo is not going to do that.
You're rooting for the cast.
I'm rooting for the cast. I'm rooting for Rhode Island. And honestly, I know what it's like to get all these hate comments and people say about you.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that, like, now, as I'm seasoned, it doesn't matter, like, what people have to say. So I tell my best advice for these girls is be on the show for the right reasons. I do see a few of the girls that are on the show promoting their businesses so hard. It comes off tacky.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's true. And I can
Lorianne will tell
I
you.
will tell you about that.
She'll tell you, but basically, some of the girls' businesses went down from being on the show.
It's a negative, you're saying, Lorianne.
Yeah. So when I first got onto Bravo, I thought probably the same way as these girls did. Oh my God, I'm on Bravo. It's going to boost up my company. This is great, blah, blah, blah. And we see them doing it right now, boosting their whatever that they're doing or whatever. But when Bravo TV like released our season, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I lost a lot.
This was your
of
gym?
members of my gym. I lost a lot. And we're not talking about, 20 customers or 30 customers. It's a small gym, so it was at least like 100.
And did some of those customers say, Lorianne, I can't do it. You were on Bravo.
Yeah, they didn't want to be a part of that. They just don't want that. They don't want that like Hollywood person that's, that's just on red carpets and doing this and doing that, because you can come off as, like she said, very tacky. You can come up, you kind of can, it can look like you're bragging at the same time, with the glitz and the glam. And, some customers might look at you and say, why do I want to support somebody like this? Like, she doesn't look real. She looks like she's made it. It looks like she doesn't need the money. She doesn't look like she's wants to be a part of her business anymore, because she's so focused in the entertainment world that she's not focused in the business. All she cares about is this TV world and red carpets and bragging. It can come across that way.
The priorities are out of whack.
And when somebody doesn't like you, like all these bots, all these people, where's the first person that they're going to start attacking you on your business page?
Exactly.
They're going to start, so
business.
These girls need to watch out, because it's not all it's cracked up to be. So,
and it's not just me. Like, there was other businesses that it affected,
which might be why Kirkbride and
Alpine and places like that.
They don't want to be associated with it, because you think, oh, it helps. It does not. So these girls in Rhode Island, my personal advice.
That's one of your tips.
You got to be really careful on
separate maybe business from the show in a way.
I did separate business from the show. It doesn't matter. Your face is your company. And a lot of these companies, they're all small. They're small business owners. They're there because they want to, touch and feel and see you. And then all of a sudden you're not a part of your business. You have other people working because you're too busy on red carpets and fly to California and Florida or whatever it is. And it just doesn't look good. So I don't know. They got to be really careful about coming across as like, I don't even know like the word. It's like,
well, Bethany Frankel, I would say. I keep relating stories to housewives because I think it's how, but Bethany Frankel is like shining the best in her life right now. And it's because she said it herself. She put the Bravo behind her. Now she's focusing on social media and branding. And that's how she's making her money, is through social media. And that Bravo almost killed her business.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a tough one.
You got to be careful. I mean, then you have like careful. And we're going to wrap things up here with Susanna and with Lorianne. But then I think about somebody like a Heather Gay. I don't know why I went back to her again, but Beauty Lab and Laser got very successful. Mm-hmm. So maybe it depends on timing, what the brand is, what the business is.
It's how she acts on social media.
Well,
right? I would say.
Yeah, I think it's her the DeBros, right? You got to know him. Like, I want to get my plastic surgery. Yeah, Terry. Mm-hmm. I want to go get my plastic surgery from them because you got to know them personally. It was about not just their brand, but also you got to know them and like them. And if you're not a likable character on the show, right, that might transcend into your business.
You know what's funny? Of course, I think I've probably thought about that, but I would always assume, it can't. What do they always say? There's no such thing as bad press.
Bad media is all good, like media, but not when it comes to business.
This is a different kind of animal. Yeah. Okay. What other tips, while we wrap things up, Susanna, what other tips do you have for the potential cast members?
Girls, be kind to the media. Be nice to the vlogs, because when you need to get word out and you're under such a big contract, the only person who's going to release that for you is maybe some of these little local vlogs. And so be kind to the media.
Be nice to the media. You mentioned also on Instagram something about reaching out to local companies to furnish.
Yes. And that was one, like, this is a positive about it. Like, in Skip, you should be reaching out to all these girls and giving them free cars, because one thing I always did was I was living in my car on Bravo. I was driving. You see the drive ups all the time.
The cameras are everywhere in the cars.
So if you're a car dealership, start sponsoring these girls, and I'll drive a car too if you want me to.
Beep beep.
Exactly. Beep beep. And then also, like, girls, please showcase some of the amazing, like, I saw they was filming at Garden Park, right? Like, that's great, but like, let's show these mom and pops,
local businesses. Yes. Lorianne,
I would have to say, like, what she just said is go to sponsors. Like, I had my car sponsored. I was driving around a G-Wagon back and forth. I'll never forget that. It was nice.
You had a lot of driving
did.
to do because you were
I
coming
had a lot of
from.
driving to
It
do.
wasn't just like it wasn't like New London. Like you were coming from deep into Connecticut.
And then I ended up buying it because of all the miles and everything I put on it. So I got a really good deal on
yeah.
it.
Oh, that's good.
But you have to be true to yourself. If you
Yeah.
do have a business, like I said before, really think about your whole like how you're going to go into all this. Be really careful what you're posting on social media. You got to be likable too at the same time. And as far as clothing goes, you can't repeat your clothes. That was one thing I could not ever repeat. We couldn't. So go to like local boutiques, tell them that you're on this show. And if they could sponsor you clothes, even if you bring them back, because that's going to help you a lot, I would say. So, and just don't take the scenes and go home and then start calling the cast members and be like, why did you do that? Why did you treat me like this? Shut it off.
Yeah.
When the cameras are off.
Separate it.
And if you're angry at the cast member during that scene, don't go home and call.
Yeah, that was one.
Don't do that.
Watching, because we didn't get to see the show. I know we got to wrap it up.
No,
but
it's fine.
We didn't get to see the show until you guys got.
Yeah,
shows,
of course.
Right?
You didn't get advance.
We don't do confessionals until about what was it, like 6, 7, 8 to 10 weeks after we wrapped. Okay. And then we weren't allowed to talk to each other. And then when I watched the show, how disappointed I was that I stuck up for certain people and then saw, like, you know what I mean? What they had to say about specifically Bella. I think that their kids should always be off
limits.
Always.
Off limits. Unless they're going to go viral like what Gia did, waking up in the morning. That was amazing. And then you know what else? Sorry, because I could talk to you both all day. But what the one advantage I think that maybe Game of Crowns had in 2014 versus the Real Housewives of Rhode Island in 2025. Did you have to scrub social media then, or it wasn't really an issue, Lorianne?
I don't think so. No.
You didn't have to scrub your Instagram and scrub Venmo and even Venmo is I guess one of those things that they tell you get rid of it.
Yeah, and podcasts weren't a thing. So it was big media that sold the show. So like we went and did the media trip, like Good Morning America, E! Entertainment News.
Yeah.
But now with this, you guys, I mean, it's crazy. I watch, but you are doing an amazing job of covering the show. And there's a few others out there. They're really
amazing. Yeah.
You know,
we didn't have that.
That's why I say be kind to the media.
Be kind, but yes, but also like I just think about the history that people probably have on socials. I'm not saying it's the current cast, but people that are potential reality stars, and they must have to go back into their Twitter and their Facebook and their Instagram, delete.
These women, though, they'll find it. That's the thing. If you've got something to hide,
Reddit will find it.
Reddit will find it.
Reddit always finds it.
You know who else will find it? Kim D.
Kim D and Reddit and Bekah Berger. We all work together. Listen, Susanna and Lorianne, this has been such a fun sort of welcome back and really great insight as to what really happens. And I think the both of you gave really great advice for the alleged cast of Real Housewives of Rhode Island. How can people follow you, Susanna?
You can follow me at Susanna Paliotta, 123, and then also House of RHORI.
And you can follow me at BCGemCT and Lorianne.Marchese on Instagram. So we have a lot of fitness advice and a lot of stuff that I'm doing with Susanna on my other page.
She's gonna get me skinny, guys.
You're already there. You're fine. Ladies, thank you both so much for coming on Real Talk Rhody.